up and having some fun because that's what we love to do. When we gather and we connect, and we're going to keep on moving forward. Please sing along. This is a song by Emma's Revolution, Pat Humphreys, and Sandy O. We're going to keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on walking proudly.
Boy, you got some rhythm there. Do you know it's good to travel, but it's good to be home? Italy and France, they have their charms, but nothing like Fayetteville. It's good to be back and with you all. If you've never been here before, a special welcome to you. This is a different kind of church, as you might, a beatboxing minister. But also, how many churches are there that accept you whether you believe in one God, or no gods, or many gods, or you think it's essentially an unknowable question as to the existence of God? What kind of church is that? The best kind. And it's not that we think that's an unimportant question about the existence of God. We just think it's so important that nobody else should tell you what you must believe. What we do unite around is a core set of principles, the first of which is believing in the inherent worth and dignity of all people. And if you agree with us on that, then we have common ground to try to make this world a better place. If it is your first time, we invite you to fill out one of these white cards to get on our email list. Later in the service, we have a time of joys and concerns where you can come up and drop a stone representing what's happening in your life that is maybe of great joy to you, or things that perhaps are bringing you sorrow. And you can just drop a stone. If there is something you want to share, you can fill that out on a yellow card and bring that up. Or if you're joining us online, you can fill that out there as well. There's a place where you can mark if you want it to be confidential. You know, this card doesn't have such a place. Maybe yours does, but if you want it held, no, there it is. Can be shared with fellowship. Yes, no. Sorry. Still adjusting to being back home. Okay, it is there. Then if you don't want it shared, then it won't be shared publicly. If you write it in the comments online, though, that will be shared publicly. So we are very thrilled to have a special guest speaker with us today, State Representative Nicole Clowney, and her daughter's here with us too. Good to have y'all. Some of you know Nicole Clowney or know of her. She is serving her third term in the Arkansas House of Representatives, representing District 21, which includes portions of Washington County. For the 94th General Assembly, Representative Clowney serves on the House Judiciary Committee and the House State Agencies and Governmental Affairs Committee, also on the Joint Budget Committee. Representative Clowney is a teacher at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Classics from the University of Chicago and a JD from Yale University. She lives in Fayetteville with her husband and 2 children, and we're looking forward to your message. We have a long history here of being engaged and involved with our government, whether it's the city, the state, the nation. We've had many speakers here. In fact, we've had members here who were on the city council, but we've had the mayor has spoken here and will speak again here soon. Even Bill Clinton spoke once from this pulpit, I think back in the 1970s. Yeah, how about that? Were any of y'all here? Betty Lou. We have a witness. All right, it happened. So, as we begin our service today, we've asked Representative Clowney to share some opening words with us.
Thank you all so much for having me this morning. I am thrilled to be here, and I'm already really excited and touched by what I've experienced in the few short minutes I've been here so far. This is a personally very poignant day for me. My grandparents, John and Shirley, were happy members of their small town church in central Pennsylvania back in the 1980s. But then that longtime church home decided that they would not welcome my grandparents' close friends, Roger and Stuart, because they were gay. The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Center County, however, would, and they did, with open arms. So that became my grandparents' place of worship for the rest of their lives. I'm not going to do this the whole time, I'm sorry. So from my very first contact with the church, I knew that this place, that these people, that you were about acceptance, as Jean started today. I'm going to talk this morning about politics specifically through that lens, through the lens of acceptance. Because what better place to do that than here? The last time I visited a Unitarian Universalist fellowship was for my grandmother's memorial service. And I wanted to share a snippet from her obituary with you all. She had a wide array of friends from her volunteer work and her career. From the communities in which she lived and practiced her faiths, it would be unfair to say she had just one. From those she helped and those who helped her, and from her fellow students of poetry and life. I wanted to share that because I loved her so much, and because nothing would have made her happier than me being here with you all on a Sunday morning. And I also wanted to share that little blurb because it mentioned her poetry. As I was preparing for this today, I thought it would only be right to start off by reading something that my grandmother had written. This, by the way, is a book of poems that she gave her friends and family, self-published. It had been 10 years or so since I read this collection, but I thought I'm going to look in here, I'm going to find some inspirational piece on social justice or love. That's who my grandmother was to me. But as I mentioned, it had been 10 years or so since I'd dived into this, and I've been in office for only 6. So as I opened it, there was one poem that stuck out at me that I hadn't really noticed before, and when I saw the title, I was met with a mixture of terror and delight, because this poem is called Scheming Politician. So there was obviously no other choice for today's event. Okay. So here it is. We can't explain why such a man was elected. His campaign speeches were obviously selected to convince constituents he was respected. But in reality, we should have suspected that he was less honorable than we expected. His faults grew more evident as he objected to good suggestions, which he quickly rejected. He refused to be helped or to be directed, and loudly yelled and roared at being corrected, ignoring all those who were deeply affected. When he died, the townspeople all recollected how during his crooked career he perfected innumerable scams before being detected. But his death left many folks oddly dejected and worried that he'd scheme to be resurrected. So, Shirley's view of politicians certainly aligns with many of ours, perhaps this week more than ever before, given current events. But I hope to challenge that view a bit this morning. Thank you for accepting me here today, and I look forward to learning with you.
Well, my goodness, we are so excited to have you in our pulpit today. Wow, that's no joke. All right, hi, beloved ones. I'm so happy that we are getting to be together on this beautiful morning. Let's light our chalice together with the words printed on the screen. Love is the spirit of this community, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in truth, and to help one another. Thus do we covenant together.
Woody Guthrie also had a lot to say about politicians. Please rise if you are willing and able, and let's sing this song that we used to teach in public schools. I learned this in maybe 4th grade in public music class. 1, 2, 3. This land is your way. Hold on.
Well, pause. Well, I'm so sorry. Pause just a second.
Yep, that's why I was trying to get my keys. This land is yours. All right, I was trying to get the right key for all of us to sing. 2, 3.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from the California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled and I followed my footsteps through the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This was made for you and me. When the sun comes shining, then I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling. A voice was chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. On the square of the city, by the old main towers, to the farmer's market, all the veggies and flowers, to the parks and the bike trails, we can ride for hours. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From the California to the New York Islands, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. One more time. This land was made for you and me.
Good morning and welcome. Today's story is called The Little Book of Government. Very simple. I'll just say that. What is government? Maybe you've heard grown-ups talking and know a little bit about it. Or maybe you don't know anything except government is a long word that starts with the letter G. There are so many things to know about government, not only what it is, but why it is important. Ready to learn? Just turn the page. The government is a group of people who run a country or a state. Anybody know what state that is? Michigan. A city, or even a small community like a school or home. And here's a question. If there are any kids that want to answer, we'll open it up to you first. What is the name of our country, kids? What's the name of our country? United States. What's the name of our state? Yes. And what's the name of our amazing city? Woo! Let's look at, and some of us are from other cities, that's right. Let's look at your school. Here's some playground safety rules. No pushing or shoving, wait your turn, and be kind to everyone. Your principal's in charge of enforcing those rules so everything runs smoothly and all of the students, teachers, and other people who work there stay safe. At home, your parents make sure everyone follows the rules, or they do their best. And just think if you have any rules at your house to help keep everyone safe. Any kids here know of a rule that you have at your house? The United States government is in charge of making sure everything runs smoothly and everyone stays safe in our entire country, which is very, very big. When did the United States government start? Well, almost 250 years ago, before there were cars or computers or cell phones or even grocery stores. The founding fathers of the United States of America wrote a document called the Constitution. It listed important rights like freedom of speech for all Americans. That same document that was created so many years ago still serves as the basis of our government today. The United States government has lots of important jobs. And what are some of those jobs? Educating students, building roads, printing money, keeping people safe, being fair and just, protecting the environment, and making the laws. What are laws? Think of laws as another word for rules. Laws are rules that everyone must follow to protect people and property. think of some laws that you know of that protect people or property. The laws of our country are made by the United States government, which is located in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Anybody ever been there? It's pretty cool. Pretty cool place. How does the United States government work? The United States government is made up of 3 parts or branches: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. There we have Biden and Kamala. The executive branch of government is in charge of carrying out and enforcing the laws. This branch includes the president and the vice president. It also includes other important officials who work with the president and advise him or her on matters related to their departments. The second branch of our government is called the legislative branch, including the House of Representatives and the Senate, who work together, presumably, to make the laws of our country. Together, they are called Congress. Every state has representatives in Congress, including Arkansas. The third branch of our government is the judicial branch. This branch is made up of judges and the courts and includes the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in our country. What's a court? When people have a disagreement, they cannot resolve themselves, they go to court. It is the job of our courts to interpret the laws and decide who is right and who is wrong. The United States government was created by the people and for the people. This system of government is called a democracy, and it means that everyone who lives in our country has a say in how it is run. There's so much to know about our government and how it works. Keep learning, which is one of our principles, so that you can use your voice, another one of our principles, to continue to make our country a wonderful place to live. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yes, are you doing this part? Yeah, we have some politicians that need to read that book. Especially the part about laws and courts. Okay. One of the main reasons we exist as a congregation is to be a community that shares each other's joys and concerns. And so we like to have a time every week where you can do that by bringing up a stone, dropping that in the bowl of water, and as the ripples expand, we know that our lives are affecting the lives of others. If there's something you want to share in a written form with the congregation or with just the leaders, then you have an opportunity to do that as well. So let's do that while Jory plays us some music. First of all, do we have any online joys or concerns to be shared? No. So several people have shared things, and Renee wanted me also to share that she has checked on our folks that live in Benton County. They're all okay. There were 4 of our members who were directly impacted, though, but thankfully the folks are okay. We're also collecting goods, so there's a place in the foyer, and more information about that in your order of service. And I think the rest of these are joys, actually, a lot of joys. Fantastic. And you know, we always know there are other joys and concerns that aren't shared, and we want to drop stones. Let's, for those and for the things we will encounter this week, joys and concerns. Very good, very good. Let's have about a minute of silence to reflect on these things. It's time now in our service for our offering. It takes money to support our staff and our minister and our building and all the good things we're doing in the community. We invite you to share as you're able. There are ways you can do it online as well, texting, but also through our website or bank draft, and the good old-fashioned method of passing the basket, which we will do at this time.
Okay, it's a big axe to follow, but making a difference through politics is what I was asked to speak about today. And as I mentioned earlier, I want to do that through the lens of acceptance. I guess because isn't it just like a politician to enter a space with experts in a field and then preach to them about it? But if there's one thing anyone knows about Unitarian fellowships, it is that they are all about acceptance. I am quite literally preaching to your choir about acceptance. But in addition to being a politician, I'm also a teacher. That means that I'm always drawn to complexity or to tension in concepts, or maybe what my students often call making things way too complicated. But today I did want to talk about a natural tension that I think exists in the idea of acceptance. I still catch myself being hugely intolerant, hugely unaccepting every day. And so this morning I want to ask if you do too, and to challenge you to join me in trying to overcome it. Here's what I mean. It's clear from this morning, I have no doubt that every single one of us in this room have an open mind and a loving heart for those who are marginalized. Whether it be women or people of color or LGBTQ people or people with disabilities or without homes, our Sunday mornings, our politics, our worlds are built around accepting. And it's also true that those of us who have the biggest heart and the most open mind for the marginalized among us have a very, very hard time accepting those people who do the marginalizing. But accepting everyone means accepting everyone. And I want to be very clear. This does not mean accepting the status quo. This does not mean accepting cruelty at the hands of government or anyone else, but it does mean accepting and maybe even welcoming the people responsible for those decisions. And that can be hard, really, really hard, because it can feel like accepting or welcoming or even loving people who are doing harm is being complicit in that harm. But if I've learned anything from my experience in politics, and if I have learned anything from watching those who fight so effectively for our most marginalized people, it's this. It is only with acceptance that we stand a chance of honest conversation, and it is only with honest conversation that we have the hope of changing anything. Okay, that's a lot of abstract talk, and so I want to give you a concrete example from a recent meeting in Little Rock. Y'all likely hear a lot of really bleak and scary stories coming out of Little Rock. There's a lot of them to choose from. This morning I'm going to share a different kind of story and one you haven't heard. But before I start, I do want to just caution. There are really hard parts to this story, particularly with respect to trans people. There are things that will be hard to hear. Please prioritize taking care of yourself over listening to me, always. But I do want you to know there's a happy ending to this story. Last session, I sat on the House Judiciary Committee, and one day near the end of session, I read a bill that I knew would be before us soon. That bill proposed that anyone who used a bathroom that did not match the sex on their birth certificate would, if a minor was present in that same bathroom, be guilty of the crime of indecency with a child. Yeah, you can imagine my initial thoughts when I read the words on the page before me, and they were the same as I hear you feel right now, right? How bigoted, how disgusting, how cruel. This bill is clearly motivated by hatred. There's no other explanation. What else could explain it? So I went into my committee meeting with those thoughts guiding me, with those assumed motivations moving what I plan to say. This is going to be a little bit of an aside, but Stephanie did a great job explaining government. I'm just going to tack on a little bit. In order for bills to become law, they have to get a majority of votes on the relevant House or Senate committee, and then they go before the full House or Senate for a vote of the full membership. So this was a Senate bill, which meant it started on the Senate side, and it had already made it through that whole Senate process. It was now before our House committee, and typically when bills make it out of committee and go before the full House, they pass. And so I mention all of that just so that I could express how high the stakes were here. This committee meeting that I was walking into was our last chance to stop this bill. The stakes are very high, and so emotions were too. And I was sure that the bill would pass. It had sailed through the Senate easily. And so I was ready to make a scene. I was ready to launch grenades in defense of the room full of the trans Arkansans who had shown up to testify. I was ready to aim them straight at my colleague who had sponsored the bill. But before the meeting started, I reminded myself to listen before speaking. I reminded myself that the question, why would someone do this, needed to not just be rhetorical. I needed to not presume I knew the answer to it. Was it really just pure hatred? I didn't know. I literally couldn't understand it, and I needed to before I knew how to react. So my temperature was high, and as high as my temperature was before the meeting began, my temperature quickly started to drop as the senator began to present his proposed legislation. Not because the bill wasn't as bad as I thought, it was awful, but because I was beginning to understand what was driving it. And it wasn't what I had thought. It was not blind hatred. It was deep fear combined with a lack of knowledge. For instance, the senator mentioned that one reason he was proposing the legislation was to keep, and this is a quote, a burly man with a full beard from following his young granddaughter into the restroom and frightening her. This was my first clue that the senator did not have much knowledge of or contact with any trans people, at least that he knew of. My hand, as it tends to do in committee meetings, shot up, and I said, Senator, with all due respect, if the law requires bathroom use to match what a birth certificate says, there will be a much higher likelihood of a burly man with a full beard following your granddaughter into the bathroom, right? Because many such men have female on their birth certificate. He was stunned. He truly didn't know. And he said as much. Unlike the scheming politician of my grandmother's poem, he did not refuse to be helped or to be directed. Instead, you could see him kind of pause and process the information. It was new information to him. But unfortunately, his presentation continued. That was the moment, though. His humility in that moment made me realize, wait, we may just have a way forward here. Maybe, I thought, this is not the time for all those grenades, metaphorical grenades that I had packed in my bag. Maybe it isn't the time to burn anything down, to destroy. Maybe what we had, in fact, was an opportunity to build. So I remained observant, but if I'm being very honest with myself, I was still skeptical. Okay, I've talked a lot about my thoughts, but I was not the only person listening, and I was certainly far from the most important person in that room. My guiding principle in this and in all areas is that I always think we do the best work when we get the people closest to the pain, closest to the power. That moment came when person after person sat at the end of that table and explained to the senator how this bill would impact them. A Fayetteville father named Aaron Jenin took his seat at the end of the table. He explained to the senator what it was like for his trans daughter to simply exist in the world. He explained what it was to father a child experiencing what his teenage daughter Sabrina was experiencing. First and foremost, he spoke with incredible pride of and love for his daughter. But he also spoke with sadness and with fear and with anger. Importantly, Mr. Jenin never assumed the senator's motivations or dismissed the inherent worth of the senator whose ideas were threatening his family. He accepted the senator's humanity. He treated him with respect, even though the senator did not return the same courtesy for Sabrina and trans people across our state. There are a lot of things I wanted to say to the senator when I first read the bill. None of them are appropriate to say in a place of worship on a Sunday morning. But Mr. Jenin gave a master class in how to speak with righteous anger, also from a place of acceptance. Here's what he said of his daughter Sabrina. I will never make her use the men's restroom no matter how many laws you try to pass. I won't inflict that kind of pain on my child. And this is where he made all the difference in the world. He said, and you wouldn't either if she was yours. So think about those words. In a moment that was highly contentious, that was so polarized, Mr. Jenin, whose own family's dignity and safety was under attack, used his time and his words before the senator not to emphasize that they were adversaries, which they were, but to assume their similarity. And you wouldn't either. In a time when trans people are under such intense attack by our state's legislature, Mr. Jenin somehow accepted the senator's humanity, and in doing so, invited the senator to change course and do the same. And that's actually what the senator ended up doing. So here's what happened. As Stephanie told us all, the role of government is to keep our people safe. The senator was convinced that that is what his bill was doing. I just want to keep people safe. Mr. Jenin accepted those reasons for his bill. We just want to keep our kids safe. And so Mr. Jenin met the senator where he was, wed to no assumptions about his motivations, but taking him at his word that safety was what was moving him. So accepting all of that, Mr. Jenin proposed an alternative. Remember, the bill originally criminalized any person simply being in a bathroom that was different than the one designated for the sex on their birth certificate. This language was so problematic because it criminalized trans people for simply existing in a space. It was overbroad. And if the senator truly wanted to protect children from harm, Mr. Jenin said, he could add language that made that explicit. He could add language to the bill that said, if anyone enters a bathroom with the intent to harm a child, then we can criminalize that behavior. Now, this behavior is, of course, already criminalized, but it made the senator feel. So during the testimony phase of a committee meeting, witnesses like Mr. Jenin can't actually ask legislators questions. Legislators can't respond to witnesses that way. And so the senator didn't respond immediately. He couldn't. But when he took the table again, I asked him if after hearing all the testimony, he would be willing to amend the bill to include Mr. Jenin's suggestion. He said he really did just intend to criminalize the behavior of bad actors, and he really didn't understand all that his bill meant. Now, is that incredibly problematic? Yes. Is it terrifying? Yes. What do we do with the information in order to make it better, though, is the question that we are presented with today. And what it took was exactly what Mr. Jenin did. The senator agreed to the change. And I want to emphasize this because I hear skepticism that is obviously well-founded. In this particular instance, he had the votes to pass the bill as it was. He did not have to make the change, and he did. Does this mean he should be canonized? No. Is it a roadmap for making things that are really, really bad a little bit better? I think so. Is it a way that we can ease suffering in our state, even if it's just by a little? Yes. So I think there are important lessons to be learned. I tell that story not to minimize the very real dangers of this bill and the very real dangers that the misunderstandings that led to it pose. I just tell it to show in this instance the power of acceptance. Mr. Jenin was humble and he met that senator where he was. He accepted the senator's humanity as a fellow dad. He invited him to see the Jenin family in the same way he sees his own. And because of that attitude of acceptance, the senator accepted that invitation. I also don't tell the story to encourage passivity or acceptance of any view that robs anyone of their personhood. You do not have to accept any of the repugnant views or policies that overwhelm the halls of power right now. In fact, it's incumbent on us not to. But the way that we change or stop those bad decisions, in other words, the way that we can refuse to accept repugnant views and decisions, that only happens by accepting the humanity of the people who hold them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Representative Clowney. What a good story and what a good work. Thank you for working together to build a new way. Please rise if you are able and willing. Sing out of our teal songbook, number 1017. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free, free of hate, greed, and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. Yeah, we are.
Oh, lucky, lucky us. Are we not so lucky today to be together? Yes. And may I just say, lucky to have Representative Clowney representing us. Yes, that's right. Yes, 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 yes. Let's extinguish our chalice together. We extinguish this flame,
Wow, that was so good. Thank you. And I know you said you were preaching to the choir, but the choir needs preaching too. And that is the one group I think it's hardest for us to accept is those who are unaccepting. Very, very powerful words. Thank you. So we are a community of action, and we've got various things going on this week. Some of these are regularly meeting groups. I want to emphasize something that is in your order of service, that we are a collection point for Northwest Arkansas tornado relief donations. These are being taken daily to Rogers High School. So we've got a box, we've got a place with a sign in the foyer there's a website you can go to, listed there, to find out what are the things exactly they need. And those, they change depending on what's been donated and what new needs are arising. So we encourage everyone to help as they can on that. Yeah, and there is that information, and also in here, and I'm sure in our weekly email. So I think, as far as announcements, unless there's something else. Next week is choir. All right. So choir singers need to be here an hour, be here at 10. Fantastic. All right. Well, again, thank you all for being here today. Representative Clowney has some closing words, and then we'll have our sending music.
I started today with a reading of my grandmother's poem about a scheming politician. And of that politician, remember, she said, his faults grew more evident as he objected to good suggestions which he quickly rejected. He refused to be helped or to be directed, and loudly yelled and roared at being corrected, ignoring all those who were deeply affected. That poem describes well how the conversation with the senator might have gone had Mr. Jenin not approached him with acceptance of their shared humanity. It would have been completely fair to throw bombs I so badly wanted to launch, but as good as it would have felt in the moment, it would have ended in a really dangerous piece of legislation. And so, as removed from you as government can sometimes feel, I want you to remember Mr. Jenin's example of just being a father who showed up. You don't have to be a scheming politician to make a difference, and in fact, it's often better not to be. So many people often ask me, what's the best way I can get involved? Things seem like they're falling down around me. I don't even know how to make a difference. And it can feel so overwhelming. There is so much to be done. But the good news is there is so much to be done, right? Take your pick. Mr. Jenin chose to come testify at a committee meeting. Legislative session is going to start again in January, and I would welcome any of you that want to come have your voice be heard to do the same. It's a powerful way to get involved. But so is knocking doors for a favorite candidate or helping to spread the word to get signatures on a ballot initiative you might care a lot about. I'm happy to talk with any of you at any time going forward about the nuts and bolts of what needs to be done. But whatever you do, my encouragement to all of you is that you do it with an attitude of acceptance. Accepting everyone means accepting even those who are responsible for the most awful wrongs. It can be very, very hard for justice lovers and for defenders of people, but it's our only hope. Only by modeling acceptance, especially to those who need to learn the lesson the most, do we genuinely and meaningfully invite others to practice it. Thank you for accepting Stuart and Roger and my grandparents all those years ago. Thank you for accepting me this morning. And may you all have a week that leaves you feeling loved, content, valued, and accepted. Thank you.
You can keep the momentum. Let's just keep moving forward.
We're gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on. Keep on We're gonna keep on